A gorgeous day in South Florida, a great day for baseball. A noon start on Weather Day. This place is packed with kids. The first place San Diego Padres and the Florida Marlins finish off a three-game series. A game apiece so far. As the Marlins try to even things up, Nate Robertson gets the ball for the pitch. Marlins and Padres in Game 3, and the kids are ready to go. Lunch is being served. First pitch moments away. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. A game apiece for the Padres and the Marlins. Pitching gems on both sides. Josh Johnson in Game 1. And last night, John Garland was overpowering for the Padres.
Rich, first off, the ballpark packed with kids. We're kids at heart, so we're happy to be here, too. But today, after all the strikeouts last night, the Marlins struck out 15 times. That was 2 off the club record. You'd like to see a little more contact. We've seen that out of a few of the Marlins hitters this year.
When every manager in the big leagues makes out a lineup card, he's hoping that his best on-base percentage guys are at the top of the order. That's not happened with the Marlins this year. Surprise, surprise, you go down the list, the guy that's leading is Dan Uggla.
Who would have thought that Dan Uggla would raise that on-base percentage, cut the strikeouts down? If you look at him year by year over the last 3 seasons, go to 08, 09, and then this year, the on-base percentage, as you see this year, 378. Dan Uggla this year struck out 15 times, has walked 8. Now, at the top of the order, as Rich mentioned, that hasn't been the case. Cameron Maybin and Chris Coghlan have had their struggles. So he's up the on-base percentage, he's increased the walks, but it hasn't affected the long ball and the production.
Pitching matchup for this final game of the 3-game series. Marlins are hoping that Nate Robertson bounces back from an off day in Colorado, and Kevin Correa has been a pleasant surprise for Bud Black and the Padres.
You just hope that there are some adjustments made by the offense against Correa and Nate Robertson. Good numbers, and just 4 innings in Denver, going on 3 days rest. He should be good to go.
All right, here we go. Padres, Marlins. Ballpark filled with kids. Sunshine in South Florida. Frank Ford sits down with Brian Sanchez when we return. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Checkers. Little place, big taste. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Toyota, moving forward. Good day to be out on the water here in South Florida. Good day for the kids here to be at Sun Life Stadium. We start our day with Frank Ford. Frank?
All right, thanks very much, Rich. The Marlins bullpen certainly has had its share of ups and downs early this season. In fact, with 2 out of 3 inherited runners allowed to score last night, 14 of 28 inherited runners have scored 50%, well above the National League average of a little over 33%. But help is on the way and did arrive in the form of Brian Sanchez, who was activated Monday, made his first appearance in last night's game, pitched a scoreless inning. Afterwards, I talked to Brian about his return to the Marlins active roster.
felt good. I felt really good. I had a little trouble, getting a little fast and speed things up because it was the first outing. A little excited, especially after that second out I made on the mound where I had to come off and get it. I got a little excited, so I got a little more amped up and sped up a little bit on my delivery, so I had to slow down a little bit. It took me a couple of hitters to kind of slow down, but slowed the pace down a little bit. Felt more under control so I could execute some pitches.
Clearly, you're anxious. You want to get back. You want to help the team. You want to be an asset in the bullpen, and it's tough sitting out even though you're on rehab and throwing a little bit.
It is tough, especially when I'm watching every game on TV, and you want to go out here and you want to compete and help your team out. And it was very hard to sit back and watch. It was a long 3 weeks for me. Especially waiting for an opening day. This is, I guess, my opening day, but today is my first time to pitch. But it was really tough to sit back 3 weeks and watch every game on TV and not be able to help out.
Well, he is back and ready to help out the Marlins bullpen. Brian Sanchez, who was one of the finds for the Marlins of spring training in 2009, back on the active roster here in 2010 and pitched his first inning last night. This afternoon, the rubber game of a 3-game set, Marlins and San Diego Padres. Padres, one of the surprise teams in baseball so far this season. The Fish with a record of 11-10, trying to go 2 games over 500. Rich and Tommy will have all the action coming up next.
Gonzalez has a few fresh legs out there for this afternoon start. And the Marlins facing a Padres team at 12-8, tied for first with the Giants in the National League West. And this is the lineup that the Padres have. Jerry Hairston Jr. at shortstop. David Eckstein has hit Nate Robertson pretty well in his career, and certainly he's had a nice series against the Fish. Marlins have kept Adrian Gonzalez in the ballpark. That's no easy feat. Chase Headley, a .342 average driving and runs for the Padres. Kyle Blanks in left. Scott Hairston's in center. Oscar Salazar gets a start in right. Yorvit Torrealba, the catcher, and Kevin Correa's in the 9 spot.
Nice to have the veteran 32-year-old Nate Robertson on your staff. He's a guy that you can go to, as Freddie did in Denver after 4 innings in the second game of that doubleheader. Said, we're going to need you on 3 days rest. Are you ready to go? He said, no problem. Ready to go in this afternoon game against the Padres. Nate, in his career, because most of it has been spent in the American League, just 1 career start against the Padres. He did win that game, so he's 1-0 in his career against San Diego. So Nate Robertson getting ready to work. Because of that, Bud Black has a few right-handed bats in his lineup.
Marlins defensively.
Here's how the Marlins set up. Bright sunshine today. Get the glasses out. Coughlin, Maven, and Brett Carroll around the infield. Wes Helms with the start at third base, and Brian Barden giving Hanley Ramirez the day off. Uggla and Cantu. And there's Nate Robertson, handled by Ronnie Paulino in this one today.
Bud Black, the skipper of the Padres, has done a nice job of steadily turning this franchise back around through a rebuilding process. He arrived just at the tail end of some playoff runs, and he had his ball club playing well in August and September of last year, so maybe it is no surprise that they've had a good April.
Yeah, and certainly a guy who's attuned to his pitching staff. 7 years, one of the best pitching coaches around, pitching coach for Mike Scioscia and the Angels.
Speaking of pitching, as Hairston stands in, what did Nate Robertson do in Colorado that he has to stay away from this afternoon?
Yeah, left too many pitches out over the plate. He has to be on the corners. He's not overpowering. He gave up 5 runs and 5 hits in his 4 innings against the Rockies.
And he goes after Hairston with a good sinker, and it's 0-1. Robertson, 32, an original draft pick of the Marlins, 5th-round pick out of Wichita State. Of course, then traded to the Tigers, where he spent 6 years in Detroit's rotation. Misses outside to Hairston.
You realize Nate Robertson was actually a teammate for a year of Braden Looper's at Wichita State.
They were roommates at one time. Here's the 1-1. In the air. It is a tough day for the sun here in South Florida. And Ugla makes the catch. Danny has the eye black on.
Yeah, I was talking to Cameron Maben before the game, and he had the box of sunglasses, making sure he picked out the right pair. And he said in center field to start the game at this time, right now he's okay, but that sunshine is bright, and it'll move toward left field as the game goes on.
David Eckstein climbs in now, the second baseman for the Padres, his 2nd year in San Diego. Eckstein has had a solid series, and certainly a terrific career in 10 years, a couple of World Series rings. There's his 4 for 9 in the series. Get this, David Eckstein has hit 35 home runs in his 10 years in the big leagues. 2 of them have been against Nate Robertson. Next time pulls it foul.
Yeah, as you look at the Marlins outfield defensively, it's interesting because they must realize that Eckstein has gone deep twice against Nate, and they're shading him into right center.
And he puts that one in the air. Ugla again. Then he makes the catch. Good sign that Nate Robertson's been able to get inside on both Hairston and Eckstein.
Yeah, you've seen 2 real defensive type swings, not really squaring up the ball and getting it extended. So that tells you not so much good stuff, just good location in the case of Nate Robertson.
Adrian Gonzalez now, who was on a home run tear when he started this series on Monday night. He had homered in 4 consecutive games. You see, he has 6 on the season. In game 1, he was 0 for 2. Last night, had a couple of hits, including an RBI single against Reniel Pinto late in the ball game. Robertson misses down low. Robertson last year, an injury-filled year, 6 starts with the Tigers, was 2-3, also made 22 relief appearances.
Yeah, basically when he came back from injuries, the Tigers had a set rotation, so he started to work out of the bullpen.
Those are his career numbers. And he buries a strike. Brian O'Nora is behind home plate. Phil Cuzzi, Chris Guccione, and Jerry Crawford, who got dinged up a little bit last night.
Yeah, good to see Jerry Crawford out there.
Crawford at 3rd base in this ball game. 3-1 coming. And Robertson loses Adrian Gonzalez. And we'll bring up Chase Headley. Umpiring is a dangerous profession. And when you have a catcher set up on the outside part of the plate, and as an umpire, you're trying to bear down middle and inside, you are really exposed.
And Jerry had to leave the game. A little pause as they rotated, the umpires did, so good to see him back out there today.
Tapper towards 3rd. Helms cuts it off, flipped to Ugla in time, and a clean 1st inning for Nate Robertson. Underway in the sun in South Florida. Just press it if you want. Marlins baseball in Espanol. Scoreless ball game. Here come the Fish. The Marlins are 11-10 right now. Cameron Maben will lead it off in center field. Chris Coughlin's bat starting to come around. Wes Helms gets the start with Hanley getting the day off. Jorge Cantu is at first. Dan Ugla is at second. Ronnie Paulino behind the plate. Brett Carroll out in right field. Brian Barden gets the start at shortstop. Nate Robertson will hit ninth.
Contact, contact, contact. That's what the Marlins hitters need to try to do this afternoon against Kevin Correa, the 29-year-old right-hander.
Boy, look at the numbers. Look at the opponent's average against Correa. And he throws a strike to Cameron Maben.
Padre pitching has 27 strikeouts in 17 innings this series, and their bullpen has 13.
Maben's chopper is wide of third. Well, that's the prescription for Bud Black and the Padres right now. They're getting outstanding efforts from all of their starters, and they have one of the best bullpens in baseball. Their relievers' ERA is 2.93. How many managers would love to have that when they go into a ball game? Well, broken bat flare is going to nestle into center field. A base hit for Maben. Last night when Maben was at first base, there was a real cat and mouse game going on between he and John Garland. We'll see if it continues with Correa.
Well, cutter, slider off the plate and hit off the end of the bat, but Cameron Maben found the right spot. You know, we talked in the open about Dan Ugla, and the two guys at the top of the order, Cameron Maben and Chris Coughlin, who have struggled in striking out and not walking much. But Dan Ugla has kind of turned the corner and has done a lot of that.
Maben's running on the first pitch. Coughlin lines it into left field, a base hit. And Maben got deked into a slide, although he wasn't going to third. That ball was hit so hard. So a little hit and run, and the Marlins are set up with runners at first and second.
And I like that, Rich, because when you have a couple of guys struggling, especially Chris Coughlin, to get him going, get a little movement. You open up some holes on the infield, and Cogs, who hits that ball so well the other way, gets things going, and believe it or not, now has a 5-game hitting streak.
Yeah, the bat is starting to come around. Wes Helms in the 3 spot. Helms getting the start at third base. Gabby Sanchez and Hanley Ramirez getting the day off. And Cody Ross is still a little bit under the weather. He is available to pinch hit as Correa buries that breaking ball down low. Helms really has flourished with the Marlins in the utility role, the pinch hitting role, and even in the spot starting role this year. You see he's off to a terrific start. Fastball that Helms fouls back.
I've been talking about the Padre pitching, especially last night. There's a little scouting report on Kevin Correa. The drop and drive guy, 3/4 delivery, a slurve-like slider. The Marlins have seen a few guys over the last week or so with quick moves to first base. Correa is one of them.
He's 1-1 on Wes Helms, who lines it into right field. That's a base hit. Maben will score. Up for the ball is Salazar. Coughlin to third, and the Marlins have come out swinging with 3 consecutive hits.
Well, 3 good approaches. Maben's off the end of the bat, but the nice swing of Coughlin into the opposite field, and then Wes Helms, who I guarantee you Wes Helms could do this in his sleep. Get a pitch, stay back, let it come to him, and then drive it into right center field. That's just a beautiful swing and keeps the inning going, picks up an RBI, and the Marlins get on the board first.
Here now is Jorge Cantu. Cantu has hit in 20 of the Marlins' 21 games this year. Still tied for the top spot in RBIs in the National League. And he sends one in the air to left field. Blanks is there. Tagging is Coughlin. He'll make the catch. Coughlin will score easily, and Helms thought about getting to second. He went halfway and scampers back to first. But Cantu delivers RBI number 21, and it's a 2-0 start
for the Marlins.
Cantu's so good at picking up that runner from third with less than 2 out. See how the defense looks for the Padres. Hey, they're used to sunshine. They're from Southern California. Blanks, Harrison, that would be Scott Harrison in center field. Headley, Jerry Harrison at short. Eckstein and Gonzalez around the infield. And Yorvi Torrealba, the veteran, behind the plate.
Here's Uggla now. Uggla having a terrific April, and that goes against all of his career numbers. Always a slow starter, but not this year. Breaking ball from Correa, a strike. Uggla drove in 3 in the first game of the series with an RBI single and a 2-run homer.
The thing I like about Dan Uggla, 15 strikeouts, 8 walks. He has a much better ratio than the 2 guys at the top of the order.
Uggla fouls it back. It's out of play.
Well, we've talked about that all year, Rich, the fact that Dan Uggla every year has increased his walk total.
Kevin Correa and the Padres. He stopped in Cincinnati, won 2 of 3. Split the first 2 here with the Marlins. The 0-2 coming to Uggla, breaking ball, and he's rung up on a pitch that looked like it was off the plate. But Brian Onora, at least so far, has a big strike zone going.
They have to file that away if you're a hitter. And a good pitch by Kevin Correa.
Look for pitch number 3 on Fox Track.
I got a feeling it might be off the square. Hey, you had a nice conversation with Bud Black about Correa and some of the changes that he's made.
Yeah, Correa is a guy that the Padres saw an awful lot of when he was with the Giants. Ronnie Paulino steps in and he fouls it back. And they saw it with Correa, a guy that had good stuff, and Black felt that there really wasn't a spot for him in San Francisco's rotation, and that he was overthrowing. He was trying to do too much.
So Bud Black saw him first as a pitching coach and then as a manager.
Right. And they invited him to spring training last year because the Giants essentially did not re-sign him. Paulino's numbers coming into today, and Correa responded last year. He was 12-11. His ERA was under 4. He had 10 no decisions, and very easily could have had a better record. He has a tie to both the Padres and the Giants in that when he played at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, his best buddy was Greg Bochy, Bruce Bochy's son. Of course, when Bochy was named the Giants manager 3 years ago, Correa was on that staff. That was cool.
Well, it was also cool he was born in San Diego, went to high school in San Diego.
Yeah, that was nice, too, to get back and pitch for his hometown Padres. Runner on the move, breaking balls outside, and the throw is in time. Wes Helms is caught stealing, but the Marlins put 2 on the board and lead it 2-0. surprise.
Sometimes a guy like Wes, who they do not expect to steal, will sneak one in. And he figured with 2 strikes on Ronnie, hey, try to get into scoring position. It didn't work that time.
So the Padres go to work in the second. Kyle Blanks, Scott Hairston, and Oscar Salazar. Big man Blanks stands in. He's just 23. And he takes a strike out of Moriarty, New Mexico, went to junior college in Arizona. That one is fouling out of play. He has good feelings about facing the Marlins in this ballpark. His first major league home run was against Leo Nunez. He has slimmed down a bit. He's lost some weight in the offseason.
He's a guy that just has pure power, and it's something you can't teach. You just need to develop it. Pretty good pitch there. He was Padres minor league player of the year in 2008.
Another good pitch.
He's pitching him. Nate is where you want to pitch Kyle Blanks. Big guy, you want to tie him up. His swing can get a little loopy, but he's just missed inside with the last 2. Coming right back there.
Got him. Robertson strikes out Kyle Blanks. First strikeout of the ball game for Nate. I'll bring up Scott Hairston. Well, the Padres are a surprise team. Another surprise team is coming to town, and that's the Washington Nationals on a Fiesta Friday. And it's Bark at the Park night, 7:10 on Friday the 30th. Fans can play Billy Bingo for a chance to win a Marlins military cap courtesy of Geico.
How about the Friday night matchup? A couple of teammates, former teammates, Ricky Nolasco and Scott Olson in that series opener against the Nats.
The Nationals and the Marlins have identical records at 11 and 10. And I don't know if you could say that the Mets are a surprise team, but the fact that they're 12 and 9 and have won 6 in a row is a little bit shocking. On the flip side, the Braves have lost 7 in a row and are 4 games under and at the bottom of the East.
Yeah, the Mets did what is so tough to do. They swept a doubleheader yesterday against the Dodgers.
And the Phillies, again late last night on the West Coast, knocked off by the San Francisco Giants. High pop. And Cantu is there to squeeze it.
Third time already in this game early on that Nate Robertson's got a couple of pop flies, 3 pop flies now. So tying up some hitters. You see the target of Ronnie Paulino inside. Pitch drifts a little bit, but he gets the pop out.
Oscar Salazar getting the start in right field. Salazar, a versatile guy. You know, on day games after night games, you'll see a Wes Helms in a lineup or an Oscar Salazar in a lineup. Split last year between Baltimore and San Diego. Well, that backdoor breaking ball just missed. And it's 2-1.
Tell you, I like the way Nate Robertson's working, though. The pitches that he's missed, he's not missed by much. So he's been around the plate.
His tempo is good. His pace is good. Two coming. Another pop-up. Barden and Ugla. And it's Ugla who makes the catch. So 4 pop-ups for Nate Robertson in 2 innings of work.
We talk about it often, Rich, the gun, the cannon that Brett Carroll has. And a lot of teams, San Diego, they don't see the Marlins a lot. Many times Brett doesn't even start. But look at this throw, an absolute one-hop bullet to the plate.
The Home Depot doing more on defense. That's a good point, Tommy, in that Carroll doesn't get a lot of starts. And so there are some teams that, yeah, I think on the scouting report it'll say has a good arm. But until you see him throw in person, you don't realize how strong it is. And his fundamentals are so good. He's quick to the ball, takes good routes, and has a very quick release.
That's a tough one for advanced scouts because you may not see him in a series, and even if you do, it would be briefly, and he might not even have a throw or a play to the plate.
Ronnie Paulino was at the plate when Wes Helms was caught stealing. And Correa flips up a breaking ball for a strike.
There's a good slider. Good slider of Correa's.
Padres have added a changeup and even a curveball to his repertoire. He was a fastball slider guy with the Giants. And Paulino cranks one into center field. The Marlins have 4 hits already against Correa.
In his last 2 starts, Kevin Correa has gone 5 2/3 innings in each of those starts. One against Arizona, one in Cincinnati. But in those last 2 starts, he gave up 3 hits in each start.
Here is Brett Carroll. You know, another guy that's like Carroll in that he doesn't have the reputation of a great arm, but he showed it off last night. Nate Shearholtz of the Giants in right field threw out 2 Phillies at second base. Ryan Howard and Chase Utley.
Yeah, the Giants have taken it to Philadelphia. They beat Roy Halladay the other night. They beat Jamie Moyer last night. Todd Wellemeyer pitched a strong 7 innings.
That's amazing that the Giants, with a great rotation, are getting starts like that out of Todd Wellemeyer, former Marlin, former Cardinal.
Yeah, their 5th starter.
Like a changeup, and it's 0-2. Carroll was 0 for 3 last night. Breaking ball hit him. And so BC is aboard. Boy, when it's 0-2 and you see a breaking ball coming at you, you can tell Carroll really dropped the elbow into that.
Yeah, it's one of those. Occasionally you'll see that called for not making a real effort to get out of the way, but he did drop a little bit, and it was a breaking ball, and you give him credit, heads up, to get on base.
Brian Barden, a guy that grew up at the Murph, or Qualcomm. I think they changed the name while Barden was a kid, but he's a San Diego guy, and he grew up a Padre fan.
And getting his first start today, we've seen him make some great plays. He made a terrific play the other night at third base.
Barden, of course, would go on to play at Oregon State. Marlins brought him to camp after he was with St. Louis. Guy that came up in the Diamondbacks organization with Dan Uggla. But of course, neither really got an opportunity. Uggla, a Rule 5 draft. The Marlins snatched him out of the Diamondbacks system.
Think about it. That's a great story. And here they are, the double play combination today.
Barden 0 for 5 in limited time so far in 21 games. The Marlins haven't really needed too many days off for Hanley or Cantu or even Uggla. The schedule has been kind with off days so far.
And this homestand's a perfect example.
Marlins have an off day tomorrow. They have an off day next Monday. So I think you should be able to take those, put them in the bank, and withdraw them in August and September.
I like your thinking. Right now, Correa struggling with a little control. I think it's interesting. This is the second pitcher we've seen within a week out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Bud Norris
Yeah.
of Houston. And of course, their idol, I'm sure, was Mike Krukow.
We'll talk to Kruko about that when the Giants are in town.
Well, Bud Black gave Darren Balsley an awful lot of credit as well for turning Correa around last year.
This is a situation, Rich, with a pitcher coming up. Now, we did see Nate Robertson bang out a double a couple of starts ago, but not a great hitter all of his time in the American League. You're not going to put a sacrifice bunt on. You're not going to put a squeeze on at this point. So you hope he doesn't hit into a double play. And maybe he can get himself a base hit and help himself.
He did double up in Philadelphia, but that's kind of like an eclipse.
I mean, this is his
comes around once every 4 or 5 years.
This is his first career at bat with bases loaded.
Now the middle infield's back for 2. And Correa, who has hit a batter and walked Barden, and Bud Black has to be a bit concerned. And if you're Robertson, obviously you're hoping that Correa can't find the strike zone here.
And if he can have some swings the way Josh Johnson had the other night, everything will be fine.
Chopper, a tag there and an out there, and a great heads-up play by Eckstein. There was no way he could go to second and get the out at first. And so Eckstein raced to the ball in time to get Barden. Another look.
You're always taught this is not easy to do because Barden's just trying to get out of the way of the tag. It's hard to think that quickly. You'd like to try to upend him, spin him around the other direction.
Let's see if he got him. Wow.
Good heads-up play by Eckstein. And there was that double play we were talking about, but the Marlins did get a run.
Yeah, regardless, it looked like Barden was probably out of the baseline anyways.
Yeah, you're always taught, if you can, and sometimes you don't have time, to try to hit and collide with that second baseman, get him on his left shoulder to spin him the other way so he can't make the throw to first base.
You can't hit him until he has the ball.
Yeah, so you have to wait. So in this case, you're Barden. You think you might be able to beat it and beat the ball to him and get around him, and that didn't happen. So I don't think it was a problem on Barden's part. I think it was just a good play on Eckstein's part.
Carroll's the lone base runner, and he's at third base, and that's a swing, says Phil Cuzzy. And Maven's in an 0-2 hole.
Well, the Marlins got their lone run last night on a double play. And Hanley Ramirez first and third.
That may have been the biggest pitch of the night by John Garland. 0-2. It's high. It was a 2-0 count with Hanley up. In a close game at that point. It was 2-0. Nobody out. Marlins first and third, and Garland threw a sinker on 2-0. Hanley thought it was a fastball belt high. It's a great pitch. Here's the 1-2. Maven pops it towards the seats. And out of play. Well, I'm sure Correa is thinking to himself, hey, this is no problem. Because his ball club has been scoring so many runs for him. He is, in terms of run support, 23 innings that he's been in there. Look at the run support. The Padres have scored 29 runs in his 23 innings of work.
Which, if you look at his numbers last year, wasn't the case.
No, he was one of those guys last year that wasn't supported. Maven's worked the count to 2-2. Breaking ball. Center field. Hit well. Hairston back there, and he makes the catch. Marlins salvage a run here in the second and are up 3-0. looks solid.
Yeah, I think it goes to show when you don't have 95 in the gun, you can still make good pitches. There's a couple of pop flies, and Nate Robertson was able to get a couple more. He elevated a little bit, he went in, and he's made pitches. Now here's an interesting thought. It's never going to happen in our time anymore probably, but he's working on 3 days rest. Guys work on 3 days rest. They have to pitch a little bit. They might not have as much gas as they had before, and they make good pitches. And Nate's made terrific pitches today.
Of course, the Marlins, when they were in Colorado, had a rainout on Friday and a doubleheader on Saturday. Robertson pitched in that doubleheader as Yorvit Torrealba steps in. He had gone 4 innings, 4 ineffective innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, and Freddie Gonzalez, rather than keep him in there, realized he needed a starter, and it was Robertson's turn today, and so he pulled him from the game after just the 4 innings. Torrealba bounces out to Cantu.
Number 29, pitcher Kevin Correa.
Replay, fueled by Gatorade, returns with an all-new season. High school teammates reunite 11 years later in Hockeytown. Follow the journey of Catholic Central versus Trenton. Replay theseries.com. Here's Correa.
Of course, for Nate, it was being drafted by the Marlins and then traded in January of '03 to the Tigers. He's actually traded on his honeymoon.
His wife's family from Florida, so they weren't all that pleased that all of a sudden he was headed to Detroit. But they were pleased when he signed a big contract 4 years ago. After a pretty good season, the Tigers gave him a long-term deal, and that's one of the reasons he's here. The Tigers went into spring training. They had 3 guys with huge money this year competing for rotation spots: Robertson, Dontrell Willis, and Jeremy Bonderman. Robertson due to make $10 million this year, Dontrell due to make $12 million this year, and Bonderman $12.5 million this year. And the Tigers are paying $9.6 million of the $10 million, and Robertson is pitching for the Fish. Meanwhile, Dontrell Willis 0-1 with a 5 earned run average in 4 starts. Jeremy Bonderman 1-1, an ERA of close to 7 in 4 starts. Justin Verlander just signed a big deal. The best starter right now for the Tigers is Max Scherzer, who was their least expensive starter.
And the one key ingredient the Tigers have this year, Miguel Cabrera. He's off to a fantastic start.
Yeah, he looks great too. And it's good to see that Miguel has dropped some weight and, more importantly, has his off-field issues in order.
Miggy hitting .357, leading the major leagues with 24 RBIs.
I was talking to Bud Black about his ball club, and we were talking about the Marlins in 2007. Young team, but they had that anchor of Cabrera in the lineup. And it's similar with the Padres having Adrian Gonzalez. Grounded to short, Barden has it. The big difference, though, all the Marlins pitching was on the DL in '07, and the Padres pitching is pretty darn good.
As the Marlins leading 3-0 over the San Diego Padres. Frank Fort along with Rich Walton, Tommy Hutton. Wes Helms due up second this inning, getting a spot start with this 12 noon start. But in the ballpark, Wes Helms and Matt Stairs, the two preeminent active players among pinch hitters. In fact, if you look at some of the key numbers in hits, home runs, RBI, and doubles, Stairs and Helms rank either first or second among all active major leaguers in pinch hits. So if you want to know how to get it done in a pinch hitting role, those two guys are certainly two to watch and learn from. Matt Stairs of the Padres, been around a long time, played for 12 teams. And, of course, we know what kind of job Wes Helms does for the Marlins. In the starting role today, in fact, he does have a single his first time up. Guys, back up to you.
And Frank and Tommy, those are two of the best guys to sit down and talk baseball with.
Oh, yeah.
Stairs in his long career, and Helms, who has really made a nice niche with himself here with the Marlins after starts with the Braves and the Brewers, and a spot, a brief one, with the Phillies. Coughlin, a base hit his first time up. And he takes outside.
Yeah, and the difference right now, Wes a few weeks away from his 34th birthday. Of course, Matt Stairs, 42. So Wes a little more versatile, too, in the positions that he can play.
And Wes knows nothing about hockey. And, of course, Stairs is a high school hockey coach in the offseason. A little tricky hop for Hairston. He makes the play.
One thing about the Hairstons, both are extremely versatile. Jerry starting at short, and Scott starting in center field today.
A guy like Jerry, especially, who can play shortstop, is a terrific National League player. And so is Helms. I think Helms is a much better fit in a National League setting than he would be in the American League. And just watch the way Freddie Gonzalez uses him for the Marlins. You can put him at third, you can put him at first, late inning defense, pinch hit him.
Guys like that get wasted in the American League. And I think with expanded pitching staffs, clubs carrying 12 pitchers, in some cases even 13, you see more and more guys like a Brian Barton, Wes Helms, and Hairstons.
RBI single back in the first. Marlins got a couple in the first, added one in the second, and a nasty changeup by Gray. And that's one of the pitches that Bud Black said they added to his repertoire instead of fastball slider. Black said that he had a tendency to really use that slider when he got in trouble. And he's learned to pitch more.
Yeah, that pitch there, a good example, a two-seamer that he ran inside, but he'll still stay mostly fastball slider, but then you have to have in the back of your mind that occasional changeup.
Missed outside. And 3-2.
So mostly fastball slider. A few changeups. He does have a curve, but won't use that too often either.
Helms, diving stop, Headley on his feet. That's a nice play. Chase Headley, Kevin Kuzminoff-like there at third base for that play. If your group is looking for a special event, save money and provide them with a unique and truly unforgettable experience at a Marlins game. 305-626-SAVE. Ask about special events in April. Bark at the Park is coming up. Scout Sleepover Night is coming up. Tommy will teach you how to tie knots, pitch a tent.
Weather day today. Got a big night. We have UM night coming up.
That's right. That's Saturday night. That's one of the bigger nights. On Marlins Live, UM alum Gabby Sanchez will have a nice feature.
There'll be a lot of excitement around here this weekend.
I think that will be done by UM alum Frank Fort. We have our special UM Marlins shirts to wear on Saturday night. I suspect Sebastian the Ibis will be in attendance.
He's working on his routines right now with Billy. Rich, do you think we can get our producer, John Sulzer, to wear the shirt, special shirt that we have?
No. No. Our producer, so excited that David Eckstein was coming to town. He's a Gator. Sulzer and Eckstein, both Gators. That ball's cranked left field and deep. Jorge Cantu. Wow, a blue cedar and a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, Jorge Cantu had that one little blip, his hitless game in Denver. Other than that, Cantu now has hit in 21 of 22 games to start this season. That number 5 in the home run department, RBI number 22.
You talk about guys that get overlooked nationally as well, with Hanley and JJ getting most of the headlines for the Marlins. Cantu has been so steady in the cleanup spot the last 2 years.
Ask a lot of people around baseball, who's leading the National League in RBIs? You won't hear many people say Jorge Cantu, but that was number 22, and he's in the lead.
He was tied with, 3 others going into play.
Yeah, Ryan Braun, Mark Reynolds, Matt Kemp, all with 20.
Uggla takes a strike, and it's 0-1. Correa really has been working Uggla on the outside part, and he's out in front of an 0-2.
Well, he saw what Cantu did with a pitch that got a little bit more of the plate.
His last start, he took a no-hitter into the 6th inning in Cincinnati. It was another one of those games where his team scored a bunch of runs for him. The Padres beat the Reds 10-4. Ended up giving up just the 3 hits and 2 runs. 1-2. It's way outside. Torrealba serving the role as a backup catcher for the Padres. First couple nights we've seen Nick Hundley behind the plate. Speaking of backup catchers, Matt Trainer going deep for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, a nice game, a 2-for-3 game. Home run, 3 RBIs for Texas.
And of course his patented sprint around the bases. They're your RBI leaders up to the moment. This is the first game going in baseball today. Cantu now with 22. Uggla's worked the count back to 3-2. Fastball, fouled the back. This is an at-bat was a good example of where Uggla has come in terms of plate discipline.
An at-bat that 2 or 3 years ago, we would have seen him chase a couple of those pitches that Correa tried to get him to chase.
And he would have punched out at 0-2 or 1-2.
And here he is, 3-2. He got a pretty good fastball there, and he fouled back. I don't know if he'll get another one, but we'll have to see.
And he may punch out here, but this is the 7th pitch of the at-bat.
Another fastball.
Drives it to right field. Salazar came in, now back, and now over, and he makes the catch. Jorge Cantu goes deep. He's driven in 2, and the Marlins lead at 4-0. 4-0 lead into the top of the fourth inning. Our telecast today is on AFN. Always great to have everybody with us. The American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 175 countries aboard ships at sea around the world, in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. Thanks for all that you do. Welcome to South Florida. Little National League afternoon baseball. David Eckstein, a former Gator, pushes a bunt, and it's foul. Eckstein popped out back in the first. Our Toyota trend on David Eckstein, who still lives in the state. Sanford, Florida's home. And going back to 07, a 9-game hit streak against the Fish.
Well, he's had a nice series, 4 for 10. He had a 3-hit night last night.
Eckstein rips it foul. As we told you in his first at bat, 2 career home runs against Nate Robertson. In a career that has not yielded in 10 years a lot of long balls. Maben's out there. Cameron makes the catch. Robertson has the first out of the fourth. Our AT&T trivia question. Who was the first to manage the Padres for more than 5 seasons?
Well, let's see. It was not longtime Padre Hall of Fame broadcaster Jerry Coleman.
No.
He did take over, though.
How long was Dick Williams there? Probably not 5 years in a row.
Dick had some early success, but I don't think 5 years.
He took him to the World Series.
We may have to go with our guy Boach. Not been a good series for umpires. Wow, that's very similar to last night and the shot that Jerry Crawford took.
We talked about that when we were in Colorado. We were talking with C.B. Bucknor about that long 20-inning game and safety behind the plate for umpires. It's one of the points of emphasis for Major League Baseball. Jerry Crawford last night. And that is when a catcher shifts to the outside part of the plate, an umpire really is exposed. See, right there.
Right there. He's not shifted outside. And because he's not moved with the catcher, he is exposed. And here's the...
And, of course, you brought up a great...
There's the ball.
You brought up a great point. And for umpires, that's not easy to slide with the catcher because a lot of umpires set up on the inside part of the plate and then call the outside part from the inside.
Yeah, if they slide with the catcher and the pitch misses on the other part of the plate, it's hard for them to see it. By the way, it was mentioned it earlier with Jerry Crawford getting hit. You knew he'd be back in there because his dad, Shag Crawford, the late Shag Crawford, would have wanted him back in there.
Robertson very careful with Adrian Gonzalez and walks him.
Well,
something Gonzalez did a lot of last year.
He led the major leagues, 119 walks last year.
Second walk issued by Nate Robertson. And here comes Headley.
Which we talked about the other night, Rich. You marvel at the numbers that Adrian Gonzalez has put up, given the fact that he walks so much and doesn't have a lot surrounding him as far as offense.
He's another year on his contract, and as we've talked about, it's extremely reasonable. You see Headley was bounced into a fielder's choice. Everybody for the last 2 years has been speculating when are the Padres going to trade him, but just watching this team mature, he's been such a big part of that. The fact that the young players have him in the lineup, I think really has helped cultivate some of these guys' early careers in the big leagues. I mean, when the rookies are all by themselves, that's a real struggle. But when you've got Adrian Gonzalez in your lineup, guys like Chase Headley, Kyle Blanks, Nick Hundley, those type of players, there's a little less pressure on him.
Totally helps a guy like Chase Headley who gets to bat behind Gonzalez. And with Gonzalez so many walks, as you see his career numbers, Headley's having a terrific start to this season and gets the first hit of the day for the Padres.
And you hope that the Padres are able to find a way to re-sign him because of his ties to that area, growing up in both San Diego and across the border in Tijuana. A swing and a miss by Kyle Blanks. Of course, the Ryan Howard contract doesn't help. I'm sure when Jed Hoyer, the general manager of the Padres, read that, was it 5 years, $125 million? To left, Coughlin is there and he makes the catch.
I'll tell you, there are a lot of GMs scratching their heads after that one. What do you think about St. Louis with Albert Pujols, who's due for a contract? Prince Fielder in Milwaukee.
Did you see that Albert Pujols has a new agent? It's
Bobby
Cox.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were talking about Adrian Gonzalez and what that contract, what Ryan Howard's contract meant to him or other first basemen around the league. And then it came to Pujols, and Bobby Cox said, well, if Ryan Howard's worth $25 million, Pujols is worth $50 million a year. Hairston is up. That would be Scott. And he takes up.
You and I did a little poll amongst ourselves, but I think if you asked the scouts, most would take Adrian Gonzalez over Ryan Howard. First of all, he's younger and also a much better defender at first base.
And you always play that game of what if you put Adrian Gonzalez in a Philly uniform in that ballpark, in that lineup.
So take note, Jeff Morad, Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the San Diego Padres.
Hit hard on the ground. Helms goes down to get it, flips over to Ugla, and Robertson is through 4 scoreless innings against the Padres. Fish on top in the sun in South Florida. Maroney. Hey, South Florida, when you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MARONEY. By Tobacco Free Florida. Escape the addiction of tobacco. Be free. Visit FloridaQuitline.com. And by AT&T. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. Fleet Week in Fort Lauderdale. Kids Day here today on a weather day. An annual occurrence in South Florida. We had about 30 of the kids inside the booth when we did our open for the telecast. We got to find some shade somehow. Marlins against Kevin Correa. Ronnie Paulino rolled a single his first time up, and he drills that one into left field. So the Marlins catcher is 2 for 2. Leads off the 4th with a base hit.
I really think Ronnie benefited by a little extra playing time in spring training. Remember, John Baker had a little forearm issue, so had to sit out a while, and Ronnie played a lot and saw a lot of at-bats against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, I don't know that it will be a straight platoon lefty and righty. I think you're going to see Paulino getting some starts against right-handers, especially when the Marlins have a stretch where they don't see a lefty for a while. Brett Carroll hit by a pitch back in the second. BC getting a start. Cody Ross under the weather last night, flu-like symptoms. Better today and available to pinch hit. We want to give a shout out to Staff Sergeant Jesse Miller, who is currently deployed to Afghanistan, serving in the Air Force, and has been for 7 years. One of our emails a couple days ago, he's looking forward to this telecast on AFN. And all of his family, he wants to say hello to his grandparents, Gerald and Ruth, his mom, Billy Miller, and his sister, Liana Miller. They all live in Coral Springs. Good place to live. Carroll awaits a 2-0 pitch from Correa. End of the bat and a little flare, and it's going to fall for a base hit. With the swing, I think Scott Hairston took a step back in center, and as soon as he did that, he had no chance to get it.
And he plays extremely deep in center field, Scott Hairston does. You're an outfielder, the slider's away, you see that big swing, but the ball not hit on the beat of the bat, a little bit on the end. So once he went back a little bit, no chance. He tried to decoy, but Ronnie Paulino made it to second, and Brett Carroll got himself a hit.
Which brings up San Diego native Brian Barden, who walked back in the second. We got the pitcher on deck. Marlins have had an opportunity for big innings. They've had to settle for 2 runs in the first and single runs in the second and the third.
Yeah, St. Augustine High School in San Diego.
He said at St. Augustine they played at Qualcomm or the Murph in the CIF championships. And his favorite Padre, Ken Caminiti.
A lot of people may not, a lot of younger people may not realize that Jack Murphy Stadium was named after Bob Murphy's brother, Jack Murphy, in the media, who was very instrumental in getting Major League Baseball to San Diego. Bob Murphy, the late, longtime Mets broadcaster.
Barden goes after that breaking ball, and Correa gets a big strikeout because now he goes after the pitcher with runners at first and at second. I'll bet we've got a few Padre fans watching that know the AT&T trivia question answer.
Yeah, they're scrambling around trying to find out how to get a hold of you.
Here's the answer.
I think we had it a little bit.
It is Bochy.
Yeah, Bruce Bochy.
Well, Bud Black is working on his 4th year, so year 5 will be next year. And it looks like Robertson's going to try to lay down a bunt here and move everybody up. They throw behind the runner, and Paulino is back in time. Yorvik Torrealba, last few years with Colorado.
He's a good veteran backup catcher to have when you have a young catcher. With Nick Hundley, he's been with some teams, Torrealba, Giants, Seattle. You mentioned the Rockies.
It's a spot here where a guy like Robertson, who spent the last 6 years in the Tigers rotation, only in interleague play do they get to swing the bats and try to bunt.
He probably did more bunting this spring than he'd done in the last 5 or 6 springs.
Well, that's a gorgeous one. Headley goes to first in time. Nicely done by Nate Robertson.
The other thing, Rich, that made that difficult, first of all, it was perfect, is that he had a slow runner at second base. I mean, you have Ronnie Paulino at second. You have to drop down a perfect bunt, and this is a perfect bunt. He got it up the third base line to make Headley field it.
Add to that, you've got a Gold Glover coming in from first base who is just looking for a ball either in his direction or out in front of the plate where he can go to third and get that out. So it's Maben, singled in the first, lined out to center field back in the second. So Cameron's had a couple of good at-bats against Correa. Paulino and Carroll and Maben went around.
We've seen it a lot this year. When we had Andre Dawson on with us the other night, Hawk talked a little bit about watching Cameron Maben and at times tentative up there. So you've seen a lot of, just today, in today's game, a lot of check swings.
There's a fine line when you're a leadoff hitter, as Maben is filling that role right now, with being selective and being aggressive. And sometimes you get tentative because you're thinking about, I got to draw more walks, I got to get on base.
And ultimately, down the road, is Cameron Maben going to be a leadoff man? Probably not. He's just 23.
And he's projected to further down the order. But he's a tantalizing package of a guy that has some pop and certainly has the speed. Paulino opened the inning with a single. Brett Carroll followed with a base hit. The big pitch was the slider that Correa threw to strike out Barden. He's 2-2 on Maben. Wow. That one got away, and the count's full, 3-2.
I'm going to do a little research on this, but I did hear the other day that one of the things the Marlins are doing with especially their prospects down in the minor leagues is working with them, a little hit and run once in a while, a sack bunt once in a while, because they're all guys that are hitting middle of the order, but when they get up here, they probably won't initially, and they might be called on to sack bunt once in a while.
3-2 is fouled out of play. It's a great point in that a guy like Maben coming up in the minor leagues in that 3 spot.
Gabby Sanchez.
Coughlin never had hit leadoff before. So if you force them to do the things that they're going to do, if you project them into your lineup in the big leagues, how many times do we say about a guy that comes up, well, he really hasn't had to bunt too many times in his minor league career.
Yeah, so you hope to see that continue.
Correa strikes out Maben, and the Marlins leave 2 in scoring position. Through 4-0. Leg Spotlight brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. The Marlin bats punched out 15 times last night, but in this ball game, the bats have come alive. Everyone except Dan Uggla and starting pitcher Nate Robertson have hits. You too can keep your edge with Just for Men Mustache and Beard. And Robertson goes to work with a 4-0 lead in the fifth. Oscar Salazar, Yorvi Torrealba, and then Kevin Correa.
I was just thinking, Rich, about our trivia question today, and another one here in the ballpark, very close to us actually, who was probably all over the answer as well. One of the Marlins radio voices, Glenn Geffner, who for a number of years was in the media relations department in San Diego.
That's right, Geff, probably the resident expert in Padre history in South Florida. Ball's hit well to center field. Maben loping back, reaching up, won't get it. It's over his head. Salazar digging for second. Maben corrals it, but the Padres have a leadoff double here in the fifth.
Yeah, a ball that I think fooled Cameron Maben. It's not easy out there, believe me, with the sun and the brightness that he's staring into. But I think this ball took off more than he thought. He came in a little bit. By the time he regrouped, he couldn't catch up to it. Salazar hit it well. And another guy, of course, who was all over that answer, he's got the day off. Mark Grant.
Mud is in the ballpark. And here, and he's not just showing up, you know, taxi after sleeping in, show up 12:30, 1 o'clock. Mud was here when we got to the ballpark this morning.
Hey, by the way, that hit by Salazar, his first of the year, he had started the season 0 for 16.
Here's Torrealba. And what a difficult year for Torrealba last year off the field. His son and a couple of uncles kidnapped in Venezuela. Had to leave the Rockies at the time. They were released after 36 hours in captivity. He would hit .291 for the Rockies and get to the postseason for the third time in his career. Two and one. He goes 3-1 on the Padre catcher. Get the pitcher Correa on deck with Salazar at second after a leadoff double. And that one misses. No swing on the check swing. And the Padres, no doubt, will try to move these guys up.
Well, a couple of firsts in this inning. First extra base hit. First time they've had the first two runners on in an inning.
That fastball is high. Padres have had a variety of managers in their time in the big leagues. Don Zimmer was a Padre manager. Jim Riggleman, the current national manager, was the skipper there for a while. Larry Boa had his time. Steve Boros.
How about Preston Gomez?
That's a good one. Alvin Dark for a year. Hum baby Roger Craig. A couple of seasons. I did not realize that Frank Howard, that may have been on an interim basis. And of course, Jack McKeon. And it's in San Diego where McKeon, as the general manager, would get his nickname Trader Jack.
As he went up to the front office as the GM.
Well, Robertson obviously needs to throw strikes here.
Yeah, right now the Padres in this sacrifice situation just trying to give him an out. He just hasn't been as sharp as he was the first 4 innings. And having trouble finding the strike zone. And with that, guys start stretching and moving around in the Marlins bullpen. Bullpen's in good shape today, plus with the day off tomorrow.
Oh, you just can't do that. You cannot walk the pitcher who is trying to give you an out and load the bases and bring up the top of the order.
Well, and Nate Robertson, he's a veteran enough. He realizes he had an opportunity with the number 8 hitter, Torrealba, to get out of a little jam after the leadoff double. But he's now walked both the number 8 hitter and the pitcher.
And you've got Hairston, who runs well at the plate, who is 0 for 2. And if all possible, you'd like to get a couple outs and get out of this inning before Adrian Gonzalez comes around. He's 2 hitters away. And Robertson's all over the place right now. Former Padre Clay Hensley in the bullpen. Hensley had a terrific spring for the Marlins. Made the club. There's a ground ball base hit into left field. That's going to score Salazar. Torrealba is just now arriving at third base. And so the Padres are on the board, and they get a little bit closer now to bringing Gonzalez to the plate. Eckstein is up now.
Yeah, with that base hit, that brings Randy St. Clair, Marlins pitching coach, out to the mound to talk to Robertson, to buy a little time to give Clay Hensley a chance to get loose. You know, one thing in watching Nate Robertson, and I think we have seen it since the season started. We didn't see it in the spring because he arrived so lately. But he's a guy who has a great work ethic. He's a veteran. He knows what his job is, what he has to do out there. He has said he learned that work ethic at home from his family.
Well, he needs to work out of this right now. Eckstein is 0 for 2. Infield's back. And then Robertson finds the strike zone.
And remember, Eckstein, 2 career home runs against Robertson. All of a sudden, a couple of good pitches. A little breaking ball for that second strike.
Bases filled with Padres. Torrealba, Correa, and Hairston. Eckstein stays on a breaking ball and lines it down the left field line and into the corner. And that's going to score at least 2. And racing to third is Hairston. They'll stop. He ran through the stop sign. Here he comes home. He is safe. And the Padres, with one swing of the bat, have tied the game. David Eckstein, such a big series, and he adds to it with a 3-run double.
Well, he's small in stature, but he just came up big right there for San Diego. He came into the game with 2 RBIs. He surpasses that with 1 swing. Got the breaking ball, went out, hooked it down the line. Good play, and Marlins do everything correctly. Throw to the plate, but even though he ran through the stop sign, Harrison able to score.
And now here is Gonzalez. There's nobody out, and the game is tied. And Kevin Correa is thinking this is more like it. These are the Padres that have been scoring so many runs in my starts.
About 11 a game. We talked earlier about Nate Robertson working on the 3 days rest. Now you have to wonder if he's affected here after going through 4 innings pretty easily.
Gonzalez strokes that one into right center field. Good jump by Eckstein, and he's going to score easily. And San Diego is on top 5-4, and Nate Robertson is falling apart.
And I would think that might be all for him. Yeah, here comes Freddie right now.
So Robertson enters the inning
with a 4-0 lead. He walked the numbers 8 and 9 hitters, Torrealba and Correa, and he's paid the price. Hairston, Eckstein, and now Gonzalez, all with RBI hits. It is 5-4 San Diego.
When you need a car, truck or van.
Robertson exits, and a former Padre, Clay Hensley, is on the scene. Hensley's been used in a variety of roles. He's kind of slid back to the middle relief role after pitching in short relief. He was outstanding as a starter in spring training and really made the ball club. He finished last year in AAA with the Marlins and pitched well with New Orleans.
Well, back in 06, started 29 games for the Padres, won 11. But he needs to, right now, put a Band-Aid on this inning. That's what Freddie Gonzalez is hoping for.
Headley has singled and bounced into a fielder's choice. Chase Headley took an interesting path from Fort Carson, Colorado. Started his college career in Stockton, California at the University of Pacific. Then transferred to Tennessee, where he was a second-round pick back in 2005. Texas League Rookie of the Year in 2007. That's a strike.
Hey, guys, talking to Clay Hensley before the game, former Padre, I said, who do you consider your best friend still on that ball club? And he said, ironically, today's starter, Kevin Correa. They both grew up in the San Diego area. They were both drafted together by the Giants in 2002 as Headley goes down. And they played rookie ball together before Clay was traded to the San Diego Padres. So they were both drafted by San Francisco. He said even in the offseason, we still live about a mile apart from each other. He said, Kevin's my best friend over there. I still consider a lot of guys in the Padre organization my friends. He said, but that won't stop me. I still want to throw some zeros up against him, and he needs to right now.
And here they find themselves on the mound as opponents. Kyle Blanks is up. He is 0 for 2. Gonzalez still at first.
Yeah, you talked about the roles shifting for Hensley with Burke Badenhop kind of moved a little closer to the back end of the game.
Yeah, that could change.
And that could change.
Especially with Brian Sanchez coming back. That's a swing by Blanks. Brian Sanchez off the disabled list yesterday. Another short arm for the Marlins out of the bullpen. You might see Burke Badenhop slide out of that role and back closer to middle relief.
I think the one thing you have in Clay Hensley, if a starter should falter, you have someone who could jump into that role too.
In the dirt, Paulino knocks it down.
Yeah, I believe Clay now up the road, lives up the road from San Diego and Encinitas.
It almost feels like the Padres are in the National League East with the Marlins, because the Padres come here twice this year. They'll be here in late June before the Marlins ever arrive at Petco in July. Outside corner. Hensley rings up Kyle Blanks.
Well, he has come in and done a nice job striking out Headley, getting Blanks. He's made some good pitches. That's the one thing that Clay Hensley does. He has all 4 pitches, and he can come in and work a hitter as a starting pitcher does. Good movement on that fastball.
Scott Hairston, 0 for 2. Sounded like it hit him, and it did. So a running fastball that clips Hairston, and now Oscar Salazar is coming up.
Well, it was Salazar who started this mess with a leadoff double, so he bats for the second time in this inning.
Paulino on his way out to talk to Hensley. Marlins have an off day tomorrow. The Nationals are coming in. The Padres are heading home to take on Milwaukee in a 4-game series.
Boy, Milwaukee scoring a lot of runs.
Salazar pulls that one foul. Brewers a couple games under 500 at 9 and 11. And the Nationals arrive here, or at least they go into play today, at 11 and 10.
Yeah, the Brewers first in the league in runs scored. Of course, then they have that 20-0 game. A lot of it's been against Pittsburgh.
At Pittsburgh's expense. The damage in this inning at Nate Robertson's expense. Hensley's 1-1. Driven deep towards the corner and just foul. Off the bat, you thought it really would hook, but it didn't hook. It kind of stayed straight. You see Bud Black sticking his head out of the dugout.
Yeah, but no problem, because his hitter, Scott Hairston, who hit the ball, stayed at the plate pretty much. He knew it had home run distance, and he had the best angle along with the umpires of anybody, and he didn't argue. Hairston has popped between San Diego and Oakland last year, 17 home runs.
Breaking ball misses outside. See Salazar's numbers, career here at Sun Life Stadium. And Hensley gets him.
The old equalizer.
But a long inning for the fish. The Padres knock Nate Robertson out, and it's 5-4. To a 4-0 lead. Padres have come roaring back with 5 runs in the 5th and a 5-4 lead. Frank Fort, Tommy Hutton, Rich Waltz with you, and our entire Fox Sports Florida crew. John Sulcer, our producer, Jim Hawley, our director, Ken Lee, our graphics coordinator. 5-4. Chris Coughlin, Wes Helms, Jorge Cantu. And certainly a different feeling out there for Kevin Correa. A breaking ball that missed someplace, looked like a pretty good pitch. And it's 1-0. And Correa, the Marlins have 4 runs, but as we've talked about, Tommy, there have been opportunities for really big innings, and the Marlins have not been able to add on or cash in.
And we talked about that a lot on the road trip. The Marlins had opportunities to do that. This is a kind of inning you'd like to put a little pressure, get some base runners, maybe even get back and tie it. If you're a Marlins fan, you don't want to see Correa go out and have a nice 1-2-3 inning, because the momentum already has shifted into their side. And if he has a nice 1-2-3 inning, makes it a little tougher.
Our Geico quote: we didn't play a very pretty game. On last night's 4-1 loss, Chris Coughlin, 6 hits, 2 errors, 15 strikeouts. Coughlin hits it hard and through the shortstop. And you can really see Coughlin starting to zero in the middle of the road trip into Colorado and here in this series.
And I think right there also catching a little break. This ball is stung, but early in the year when he was really going bad, it's picked by the shortstop and he gets thrown out. But Jerry Hairston couldn't pick that one, and another base hit, so 2 hits today for Cogs.
No doubt there are a few members watching on AFN over in Iraq or Kuwait who said, I got a chance to meet Chris Coughlin. Coughlin and John Baker, Freddie Gonzalez, Larry Beinfest went over there in the offseason.
Well, be careful. Remember, we showed you in the scouting report, Correa, one of those right-handers with pretty good movement at first base.
Marlins have run into a few of those guys in the last week. Aaron Cook of Colorado picked off a runner.
Picked off Cogs when the Marlins were down by 7 or 8 runs.
Chris was hoping you'd forgotten about that. Helms is up and he takes a strike. West drove in a run with a single in the first. Marlins had 3 consecutive hits to open the game. They got 2 runs in that inning. They had the bags loaded and nobody out in the second. They got 1 run out of that inning. Pitch out. Cantu homered in the third. Then in the fourth, the Marlins had runners at first and second and nobody out, and didn't get a run out of that. Correa just a couple of pitches shy of 80. Coughlin back with the dive. One and two.
Interesting background of Kevin Correa. His family of Portuguese descent. Part of the fishing community back in San Diego in the 70s.
Helms lines that one into the Marlins bullpen. Got Helms in the 3 spot. Hanley Ramirez is getting the day off, at least so far, with Cantu hitting cleanup. Gabby Sanchez getting a day of rest as well.
amazing that these two clubs have split the first two games. Rich, you and I talked about it the other night, how evenly they've played each other over the years. The Marlins are 66 and 65 all time against San Diego.
Which is bizarre because the Marlins just came from Colorado, and the Marlins and the Rockies are just about dead even as well. Not only in wins and losses, but runs scored against each other in their history are very, very close. Helms a little bit late. Joe Espada. Correa's pretty quick to the plate as well. He's been using the slide step off and on. Remember, Helms was thrown out trying to steal back in the first. Wes is just fighting off the fastballs right now.
Now Wes has picked up big hits. He's in the early season 10 for 21 on the year. Now look at that with 2 strikes, mainly because he shortens his swing, he stays back, just tries to make contact.
Coghlan was leaning. Chris has 3 stolen bases this year.
The toughest pitch for Wes when he has 2 strikes is good hard stuff in on him because he stays back so well. He tries to, even take the ball the other way with a runner at first. Out over the plate, he can get to.
It's a great play. Fox tracks to let you know how he's been worked.
Look at that. He's started low. He's up and away. But one thing Wes Helms is doing, he's making Correa work.
Jerry Hairston and David Eckstein up the middle just had a meeting, and that may be to change up
who's covering.
Yes, because in this Helms at bat, he's been spraying balls to the right side.
So initially it was Eckstein covering. Now it might be Hairston.
Runner goes, and Helms fouls it. It was Eckstein.
Well, it was Eckstein going over.
See, now they're talking again, and a lot of it has to do with pitch. If it's a fastball in or a breaking ball out, that might change the thinking of the middle.
Yeah, they may say, okay, fastball. If it's a fastball, they'll have Hairston cover. They don't expect Wes to pull it. Off-speed pitch, something out over the plate. Maybe it'd be the other way around.
Another 1-2. And another foul ball.
The 10th pitch will be the next pitch coming to Wes Helms. Does Fox Tracks double up once we get to 10?
I think a little red light goes on. Like the radar gun, when you hit, I think, 97, it turns red. Another throw over.
Is that in every ballpark, or do we just see that in certain parks?
What's that?
The radar gun. Of course, on our Fox box, it turns red. I don't think it does at ballparks.
That's up. And so Coghlan wasn't running there. And Helms with the proverbial professional at bat. You can see his pitches per plate appearance above the league average.
Yeah, this at bat has gotten the bullpen busy.
Edward Mujica. Got him. Well, you got to hand it to Kevin Correa. Helms battled and battled, and Correa did as well. And finally gets him.
Looked like a good cut fastball. It was hard, a little harder than his slider. 87 miles an hour. Good cut fastball moved away. Just a good pitch to put away a good hitter.
Cantu has driven in 2 of the Marlins' 4 runs. A sacrifice fly in the first, homered in the third. And he has now hit in 21 of the Marlins' 22 games this season. Correa continues to try to keep Coghlan close.
There are some times when he alters his delivery to the plate that he's a little slower, but then there are other times that he goes quickly.
Gets a strike and it's 1-1. Our Coors Light Cold Hard Blast. This was Jorge Cantu's 5th of the season. So you can add all the fancy sound effects you want to that, but just the crack of the bat tells you. There goes Coghlan. Cantu's ground ball is to the left side. They don't get the out there. The throw is high, but Gonzalez stays on the bag. Padres gambled trying to get that out at second, and it almost cost them the out at first.
That's a good effort by Eckstein at second. Watch the flip. Coghlan is safe, and Eckstein really lobs it over the head of Chris Coghlan.
It's a pop-up slide by Coghlan.
Yeah, he comes up to try to take Eckstein out of the play, and you give credit to the little guy who makes good plays day after day to get it over to first base and throw over the head of Coghlan.
That was like a Tim Tebow jump pass.
Yeah, from about the 2-yard line.
They used to use that in the red zone. Uggla takes outside.
Yeah, so it's an out at first base, but it goes 6-4-3.
And it wasn't a case of Coghlan going in high. He had already reached the base safely, and he was just going into the pop-up part of his slide. Uggla's ground ball is up the middle. Hairston to first. That's a Gold Glover over there who picks it, and the inning is over. launched by United States military in 175 countries, and it ships at sea. Fleet Week here in Port Everglades and Fort Lauderdale. So the fleets are in. Obviously, everybody in San Diego knows what that's like. San Diego, such a great military town. And one of our favorite things when we go to San Diego, it was at the Murph and Qualcomm, and it is at Petco, is when they have a military day and they come into the ballpark in an orderly fashion. They march in, take their row by row, and then when they exit, it's not like, all right, everybody, let's get out of here. It's row by row. A very cool sight in San Diego. And, of course, the Padres, in saluting the military presence in San Diego, have the camouflage unis they'll don. There's a strike, making it difficult for announcers to spot the outfielders. Torrealba, Correa, and Hairston. Hensley still pitching. And that one chopped foul.
Now, Rich, I thought you were going to bring up our second favorite subject in San Diego.
Fish tacos.
Fish tacos at Tin Fish.
Now that ranks right up there. Struck him out. He's had a big strike zone. Brian Honora's had a big strike zone. And Torrealba knows that, being on the other end of it.
Well, that's going to be all for Correa. I think he was worn down by Wes Helms in that at bat. Will Venable is going to pinch hit.
All right, Fox Tracks, let's see where it ended up. I'm suspecting it's outside the box. And it is, but we've seen that pitch called a strike.
Yes, we have.
For both sides. So here is Venable, and he takes a strike. Venable 1 for 5 in last night's ball game. Had an 0 for 3 night with 3 punch-outs in his first game, and he swings through that one. And it's 0-2. All Ivy League in basketball and in baseball. Only 2 in Ivy League history, and they're both on this Padre team. Chris Young, the other. Young, by the way, threw a bullpen yesterday for the Padres, and the Padres were hoping to put him back in the rotation. But I think at this point the plan is maybe to wait another week or so.
How about Clay Hensley? He's faced 6 batters. He struck out 5, and the other batter he hit. He has had terrific stuff and even better location.
Here's Jerry Hairston. We check in with Frank Ford. Frank?
Thanks, Rich. You mentioned that we're on AFN today, and after the game, the Marlins will be participating, several of them, in a Pros versus G.I. Joes. They're going to come up to the club level, and via satellite and the internet, they're going to be hooked up and play video games with some service people overseas. They're going to play Call of Duty and Guitar Hero. John Baker is going to come up, Chris Coughlin, Brett Carroll, Freddie Gonzalez, 1 or 2 others, and they're going to play the video games against the servicemen about a half hour after today's game. Guys?
The advantage
That's
goes...
pretty cool, by the way.
I think the advantage goes to the Joes, who can be practicing right now, getting their thumbs warmed up. Well, the Marlins have to play the Padres. One and 2. In Tommy's day, the ball players often sat around the clubhouse and played Pong. Here's the 1-2. You remember that? The first actual video game? I could just see... Yeah, Pac-Man.
Pac-Man was the first one I remember.
I could just see you and Larry Boa at the vet playing Pac-Man. 1-2 coming.
Now there's some guys who may have hung around and played beer pong.
I was just about to say, most of our younger viewers are going, I can't believe back in the day they'd play beer pong before the game.
Clubhouses weren't as elaborate as they are now.
They are not the sanctuary of comforts that they are now. That's why some players get to the ballpark late in the morning. They've got a modern workout room. You've got a chef there that'll fix you whatever you want to eat.
Big flat screen TVs, HD.
They don't have that at Ships at Sea, but they do have AFN. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the ball game. Two and two to the Padres leadoff man, Jerry Hairston Jr. Check swing went around. Dug out, throws his bat. Clay Hensley against his former team has been sharp in relief. But it's the Padres who have a one-run lead. Family Sunday's coming up on the 2nd. Marlins and Nationals. First 5,000 kids get a Chris Coughlin Kids Cap courtesy of Jiffy Lube. And all kids can run the bases after the game in the Diamond Dash. 1-877 Marlins, the number to call. A couple of changes for the Padres as Paulino stands in. Will Venable is going to stay in the ball game. And the Padres go to their bullpen. Mujica comes in, a big right-hander.
Well, we've talked about the early success that the Padres have had, a lot of it with pitching, and especially their bullpen.
Kevin Correa goes 5. Mujica comes here in the 6th. He gets Paulino, Carroll, and Barden.
He's got a good sinking fastball, a slider, and a splitter.
Hasn't appeared in this series. Heath Bell has appeared in all 3 games. Bell got the save last night. Chris LaRue in the Marlins bullpen. Mujica trots out that 91-mile-an-hour fastball. LaRue is up because Clay Hensley's spot is due up 4th here in the 6th. And Paulino cranks a 3-2 pitch foul and out of play. If it just happened by, the Marlins had a 4-0 lead, go up and smoke in the 5th. Nate Robertson knocked out of the game. Padres got a big 3-run double from David Eckstein.
One of those games that took a quick change. It looked like Nate Robertson was cruising. First 4 innings. First 4 innings, the Padres had just 1 base hit.
Copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Counts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. Paulino lines it to right. And that would be Venable out there now. So Mujica gets allowed out to open up the 6th inning. Here is Brett Carroll. The Marlins do have a pretty good supply of bats as pinch hitters available, with all the guys getting the day off, from Hanley Ramirez to Cody Ross to Gabby Sanchez. And certainly if the game is this tight, you get a sense you're going to see the majority of those guys swing a bat.
Oh, yeah. One time or another, we'll see them.
Carroll hits a high pop-up. Blanks comes in and makes the catch. Mujica gets 2 quick outs. Coors Light freeze cam time. What are we freezing this afternoon? How about Jerry Hairston, who goes after the breaking ball? Didn't think he went. Threw the bat. How about the helmet? We didn't have time to freeze that. Our Coors Light freeze cam.
That's a great shot that really depicts the rule, because did he break his wrist? No. But he attempted to swing.
If you make, in the umpire's mind, you attempt to strike at the ball, then that is a swing. It's not break your wrist. It's not break the plane of the plate.
So a good call by Brian Onora. And I'm sure Jerry Hairston Sr. did that at one time or another, too.
Ground ball off the glove of Mujica. Barden is hustling. He's going to get himself a hit.
And for Brian Barton, who hasn't had a lot of playing time, 0 for 6 coming into that at bat, his first hit this year. So good to see him get it with 2 out. He has good speed, so no chance for Harrison. Here's another thing that we talk about it a lot, American League compared to National League. You have a guy like Clay Hensley out there coming out of the bullpen who's untouchable, 6 strikeouts in 2 innings. American League, you get 4 or 5 innings out of it. But here's a situation where you've got the pitcher spot up, a chance maybe to do something, so you have to take him out of the game and use a pinch hitter.
And you have to rely on the rest of your bullpen to keep it close. When you've got a guy out there who you'd like to, say, stay out there for the next 3-4 innings.
Guy with a hot hand.
Yeah. Mike Lamb pops it up. Next time with his glasses down. And the Marlins go down in the 6th. Nice. 5-4.
Very much, Rich. Of course, the Marlins have an off day tomorrow, then back at it Friday here at Sun Life Stadium against the Washington Nationals. Here's what we have coming up for you this weekend. On Friday in Marlins Live pregame, we'll have a feature on the Marlins' new program, Ayudan, which means help, and they built a house with Habitat for Humanity. It's also Bark in the Park night. You can get your dogs into the stadium, $6. All proceeds benefit the Humane Society of Broward County. Saturday night is UM night. Lots of UM people here, employees, teachers, students, everybody in the administration. And we're going to have a pregame feature on Gabby Sanchez and his dad, Roberto, who owns the batting cages, Sluggers, at Tamiami Park. You'll see that on the Marlins Live pregame. That's Saturday coming up this weekend. Back up to you, Rich and Tommy.
It's going to be a good weekend. All starts on Friday night against the Washington Nationals. Chris LaRue comes in, and he just misses with that pitch. It's 2-1.
Saw the numbers on Chris, very good. He has been able to do a nice job in his role out of the bullpen.
Eckstein, Adrian Gonzalez, Chase Headley. That's a strike. Count evens at 2-2. Biggest swing of the ballgame for the Padres. David Eckstein on an 0-2 pitch from Nate Robertson. Got a breaking ball and pulled it down the left field line for a 3-run double. Goes after a high fastball. And an out here in the 7th. After the Nationals, the San Francisco Giants come to town. It's a Tuesday through Thursday series. All 3 games at 7:10. You can look in the Miami Herald for the 2 for Tuesday coupon. On Thursday, get the Marlins eSaver offer from Marlins.com, or just call 1-877-MARLINS. Today, the Giants and the Padres open play, tied at 12-8. And the Giants with that fabulous starting rotation.
A great matchup in San Francisco later today. Cole Hamels against Tim Lincecum. So it looks like the Marlins will see Lincecum Tuesday or Wednesday. Most likely Wednesday.
The Marlins on Friday will have Ricky Nolasco against Scott Olson. So that means Nolasco will get the Giants late in that series. Remember, the Marlins have an off day tomorrow and an off day on Monday, so you never know what they're going to do with the rotation. They might move everybody up one.
Scott Olson, by the way, coming off, I think, 7 shutout innings his last time out.
LaRue going after Adrian Gonzalez right now. Great player and a good guy. On our way out of the ballpark on Monday, Gonzalez, as he exited, a lot of people were clamoring for his autograph, and most guys of his stature would hop into the taxi, hop into the limo, and away they go. Gonzalez put his stuff down and walked over and signed autographs.
I mean, he didn't have a limo and an entourage?
This was at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, he is a good guy.
After Monday night's game. Drives that one to the corner, and it twists and turns. Foul.
I actually remember in 2000 when he was drafted in the first round by the Marlins. I remember he was out. Of course, a lot of the first round picks were brought out to the ballpark, and he took batting practice, and we had a chance to meet him, and he was a good kid then.
Some people still look at him and say, well, how could the Marlins have traded him? But of course the Marlins had a shot at the World Series, and they went and got Urbina from the Rangers for him, and Urbina was a key part of what turned into a World Series championship. When you have a chance to go for it, you go for it. The Marlins did, and it paid off. You know, it's the Texas Rangers who are the ones that flipped him to the Padres and also sent Chris Young in the deal.
And no World Series for the Rangers. The other thing, at that time, the Marlins had another big first baseman coming up in their system, a right-handed hitter, Brian Stokes. Didn't work out for Stokes, but you never know.
Of course, they had Derek Lee, who would be the first baseman of that World Championship team in 2003 as well. A strike. Yeah, the key pieces that the Rangers got back for Young and Gonzalez, Adam Eaton and Akinori Otsuka.
I think I said Brian Stokes, Jason Stokes. I'm thinking of the pitcher.
Oh, 0-2 to Chase Headley. Or rather, 1-2. With Gonzalez at first base and one out here in the seventh. LaRue, the third to work, takes over for Clay Hensley. Hensley was brilliant in 2 innings, 6 strikeouts. Nate Robertson was pretty good for 4 innings, but couldn't get it out in the 5th. And LaRue gets the strikeout of Headley. If Chris LaRue can continue to progress, and he's pitched well early in this season, that'll be a huge boost to a bullpen that is looking for some consistency.
I mean, he has a live arm. We've seen fastballs 94, 95. Right now, I think he's just getting confidence when he comes into games.
And this is Blanks. Blanks is one of those guys that makes the bat look awful small when it's in his hand.
You realize how it is amazing how things come around, and we talk about players. Just talking about Jason Stokes, the big first baseman. It was Jason Stokes who was traded to Oakland for John Baker.
LaRue mixes in a breaking ball and it counts 2-2.
You never know where you're going to find out some of these trades occur.
Internet, email,
texting, tweeting.
In fact, didn't you just get a text from Brian Stokes saying, no, it's Jason Stokes?
Yeah, that's how I found that out. Brian Stokes is a little upset.
2-2, LaRue against Blanks. And Chris LaRue strikes out Kyle Blanks. Marlins bullpen's been outstanding, but the Padres are on top. 7th inning stretch, it's 5-4.
Were looking pretty good early in the game. Maven, Coughlin, Wes Helms with base hits. Cameron Maven came in to score in the 3rd inning. after a sac fly by Jorge Cantu. He deposits one into the blue seats, his 5th home run of the year. 4-0 was the lead. It looked like Nate Robertson was doing well. He couldn't throw strikes in that 5th inning. Men on base, and the big blast for the Padres, David Eckstein, a bases clearing double. Adrian Gonzalez with a base hit to drive home Eckstein, and that was all for Nate Robertson, and that was all for the lead. The Padres now have the lead 5-4.
And that score has held now to the bottom of the 7th. Air Force, Army, Marines, they're all here. So is Luke Gregerson, who has had a very good start this year. And he comes on, drag bunt, Maven, Gregerson fields, out. Wow, that was close. Bang, bang at first. Gregerson coming off the mound. He almost bumped into Headley. Here's a look.
And when I saw Gregerson get it, he really appeared to take his time. But I'll tell you what, he took his time, and that allowed him to make a strong throw. And let's see. Did he or didn't he?
Well, it's so bang bang that even when you watch it in slow motion, you're amazed at how umpires make that call.
Now you're watching the ball go into the glove of Gonzalez. There's the ball. I think he got him.
I think he did.
So right on that call, first base ump Phil Cuzzy, and he has a split second to make it.
He's essentially watching the base to see when the foot gets there and listening for the pop of the glove. And if the pop beats the foot, he's out. 2-1. Gregerson had his streak of consecutive hitters retired. Snapped at 26 last night. Got the first 2 he faced. It's a new Padre record for relievers. And it passes a great name in Padre history, Craig Lefferts, who set it back in '84, April of '84. Hoglund rolls one up the middle. Hairston. Tell you what, Hairston has played well. They don't lose a lot defensively, at least it hasn't seemed in this game, with Hairston out there instead of Cabrera.
We've talked about Jerry Hairston's versatility. He's started 11 games now this year, 5 at second, 4 at short, and a couple in right field.
So Gregerson is doing what he's been doing all year, and that's getting outs.
Now, Wes Elms will see pitches from Gregerson. He saw 20 pitches from Kevin Correa. Over 21% of the pitches Correa threw, he threw to Wes Elms. Correa threw 93 pitches, 20 of them to Wes.
Inside corner, it's 2-1. Quickly 2-2. St. Xavier University in Chicago is where Gregerson attended. He's from Morton, Illinois. Came over from the Cardinals in the Khalil Green trade. Little pop-up, and there's that man Hairston again. As Eckstein rolled out of the way, and Gregerson gets all 3 outs in the 7th. Kids Day at the ballpark, a weather day. They had a big weather balloon that they sent up in the air.
And how about the weather today on this weather day? Absolutely gorgeous.
LaRue's first pitch is fouled back. Scott Hairston with a big swing. The pitcher spot is due up second this inning. And then the catcher, Yorvit Torrealba. In the 8th, the Padres a 1-run lead. Marlins scored early, a 4-0 lead. Padres a 5-run 5th. Both bullpens have been very solid. Clay Hensley for 2 innings, in which he got all of his outs by strikeouts. Chris LaRue punched out 2 in the 7th, continues on in the 8th.
Yeah, so the Marlins bullpen has struck out 8.
The Padres bullpen's been good as well. Mujica and Gregerson, 2 scoreless innings. That is by a diving Helms. Coughlin picks it up. Scott Hairston with a single to left. It looks like Tony Gwynn Jr. is coming to the plate.
Yeah, and the switch that Bud Black made, leaving Venable in the game. He's batting in the 9th spot, so Gregerson is going to get pinch hit for by Tony Gwynn Jr.
Gwynn had a couple of hits last night.
See how Bud Black plays it. You have a pitcher do that throw over to first to see if he shows bunt, given the fact that Venable's hitting in the 9th spot, if he has Gwynn swinging or if he has him bunting.
He takes a strike. Our Lexus League leaders. Brought to you by JM Lexus. Stolen bases. Look at the Padres and the Nationals. At JM Lexus, price made us #1, 18 years running. Check jmlexus.com to find out how. Well, when you don't have a lot of firepower in your lineup, you got to find runs in other ways.
And in the Nationals case, they have some firepower with Zimmerman and Adam Dunn. But they also have Niger Morgan in his 6 stolen bases.
Big lead at first by Hairston, and he is almost caught.
I think Chris LaRue has a quick move over there.
Career percentage of 70%. He's running. The throw is in time. He's out. Barden with the tag. Ronnie Paulino throws out Scott Hairston.
Took a perfect throw to get him because he got a pretty good jump. And look at this quick throw by Ronnie Paulino on the money, and the tag applied by Brian Barden. It's very close at second, but just a perfect throw from Paulino.
One to Gwynn. Mike Adams. And it's 3-1. LaRue gets a strike. And the count full.
Talking about the Nationals, I saw where their big ace, who's still in the minor leagues, #1 draft pick, Steven Strasburg, threw 5 no-hit innings last night. Harrisburg against Reading. Had 6 strikeouts in that game. The other feature in that game for Reading, Brad Lidge threw 2 innings.
And Chris LaRue
Nice comeback.
Has his third strikeout. LaRue, an interesting path to the big leagues. Mississauga, Ontario.
Yeah, just west of Toronto. Good moving fastball to get Gwynn. Look at that pitch move.
He was a star up in Canada, but then came down and pitched at Winthrop University in South Carolina. Marlins made him a 7th-round pick back in 05. Really earned his way to the big leagues last year when he had a great start in Double-A Jacksonville and appeared in 5 games late. Torrealba. And he's fallen behind the Padres catcher. 3-0. And that was one of the big mistakes that Nate Robertson made back in the 5th. It was in that 5th inning. Marlins had a 4-0 lead. Oscar Salazar opened with a double. And then Robertson walked Yorvi Torrealba. And when Kevin Correa was trying to bunt, he walked Correa as well. And that loaded him up with nobody out. And then Jerry Hairston drove in a run with a single. Eckstein drove in 3 with a double. Adrian Gonzalez drove in Eckstein with a single. And just like that, it went from 4-0 to 5-4. The ball's hit pretty well to left field and deep and gone. Yorvi Torrealba's first of the season.
Well, the Padres doing something right there that the Marlins have had trouble doing, and that is adding on. So San Diego adding on to their 1-run lead, now a 2-run lead with Torrealba's first of the year. Got himself in a good hitting position, got a high fastball, and just jumped on it.
He hit just 2 last year in over 200 at-bats with the Rockies. Will Venable second at bat, and LaRue misses outside. So it's 6-4 San Diego. Change up. LaRue wishes he had that one pitch back, the one that Torrealba hit up in the blue seats. The American Forces Network, 175 countries, and it ships at sea. The Marlins, the first Major League team to send players overseas to Iraq and Kuwait. Freddie Gonzalez, Chris Coughlin, and John Baker there signing autographs, playing some catch. They had a terrific time, and the impact that they made on the troops over there, not as much as the impact that those troops made on the Marlins that went themselves. Tony Gwynn is in. He's in center. And the Padres go deeper into their bullpen. Mike Adams comes out of the pen.
Yeah, a guy who uses all 4 pitches, but mainly fastballs and sliders. And then you wonder, with the score as it is, if it stays the same, if we'll see Heath Bell for the 3rd night in a row. I think you made that comment the other night too, Rich, when the Marlins had the blowout lead, but Bud Black got Bell in there just to get some work.
Flips a breaking ball up there, and it's 1-1. Cantu's homer was in the 3rd. And Adams elevates a fastball. The Padres, if a pickup game of basketball broke out, the Padres would probably be in better shape than most Major League teams.
It would be the Padres and the Marlins would be a pretty good matchup.
Well, the Padres have not only Venable and Chris Young, who are outstanding players at Princeton, but Mike Adams played some basketball at Texas A&M Kingsville.
Adams at 6'5".
Of course, I'll bet you Tony Gwynn Jr. has some skills because his dad was a point guard at San Diego State. So Gwynn could be the point guard. Young, a center who could step out and hit the 3. Cantu goes down swinging. Venable, what did our good friend Joe Scott tell us? Scott, a former Princeton point guard and head coach, told us that Venable was a 3, a combo.
Yeah,
a slasher.
Combo slasher. Here we are talking basketball, and the Heat are through after that loss last night to the Celtics. But great to watch D. Wade all year.
Here is Uggla. I don't think Uggla all that happy with that pitch. You could see him and hear him say that pitch was out. He didn't turn around. He didn't show the umpire up, but he let his feelings be known.
Again, a pitch we've seen in that same area called a strike all day.
Here are the 2 pitches on Fox Tracks. See? There's 1 and there's 2.
Wait, they got to go in there to be strikes.
Uggla ground ball. Headley has it. And this Padre bullpen that has been outstanding this year is doing it again here today.
Yeah, so far, the only hit the Padre bullpen has allowed was an infield base hit that Brian Barton picked up in the 6th inning. But Mujica, Gregerson, and now Adams. And they've thrown strikes.
Here's Paulino. Two base hits and a line drive out for Paulino today. Count 1-1. Leo Nunez for the Marlins Marlins didn't need Nunez in their Game 1 win, which was a blowout. And then last night, of course, it was Heath Bell that closed it for the Padres. 2-1. Paulino drives that ball to right. Venable is out there, slashing his way over to make the catch. Marlins down in order in the 8th. They have been impressive so far this year, these Padres. Chance to go 5 over and keep at least a share of first place in the West. The Marlins will try to keep it at 2 runs with Leo Nunez, their closer. He's had a very good start to the 2010 season.
Nunez getting an opportunity to get some work in this series. With the complete game of Josh Johnson, first game of the series, did not get in the game last night. So it's an opportunity for Freddie to get Leo a game, also given the fact a day off tomorrow.
Jerry Hairston, when he got to home plate, had a brief and looked like pleasant conversation with Brian O'Nora. Remember the last time he struck out, he threw his bat in a helmet, and it was on a check swing. And I think what Hairston was probably relaying to O'Nora was that he was upset at himself, not at Brian O'Nora.
Saying I'm a little more professional than that, which he is, and especially from his background. Great baseball family.
Yeah, 3rd generation big leaguers. There are the Hairstons, the Boones, the Bells. Any other 3rd generation families out there?
No, I think that's it. I think a lot of times in today's game, too, hitters will go back and look at video of their previous at-bat. So sometime over the last inning or so, he may have seen that and then realized how far he did go to attempt to swing.
One and 2. Well, there's your answer. As to whether Heath Bell would be up, he is. And Bell is getting ready for the bottom of the 9th. Nunez trying to pick at that outside corner, which has been a big one for Brian O'Nora today.
Yeah, Bell, you saw with 5 saves, the National League leader. Matt Capps of the Washington Nationals.
How about that? Guy that was looking for a home in the offseason. Ugla flips it over to first. David Eckstein comes up. And Eckstein had a big hit in this ball game. The Padres got 5 runs in the 5th. 3 of them came on this 0-2 pitch, our Checkers' double of the game. His brother will be here on Friday as the hitting coach for the Washington Nationals, Rick. Eckstein is one of those guys that we talk about, and oftentimes we do it with a pitcher, a guy that doesn't throw hard, a Maddox or a Moyer, guys like that, where if you went to scout a team and Eckstein was on that team, he wouldn't jump out at you. You wouldn't say that he projects to be a big leaguer. But if you watch him over the course of the season, you see all the little things that he does, like the play he made today, charging that ground ball and getting the tag and throw double play.
The throw he made to first on the 6-4-3 out at first base.
Nunez backs him off the plate and it's 3-1.
And I think, given the fact that for the most part, Everett Cabrera, the young shortstop's over there, what a great way for a young shortstop to break in with a guy like Eckstein as a second baseman, a guy who played mostly at short.
Eckstein drives it to left. Coghlan racing for the line, reaches and makes the catch.
I'll say one thing we have learned about Chris Coghlan. He can go toward the line and make a catch.
He's not afraid of anything.
Not afraid, no. He had a long way to go there because keep in mind, you're not playing. Look at how far over in left field he was. You're not playing Eckstein to pull. So a long way to go. He got there and was able to make the catch, keep his concentration. And then after he caught the ball, he knew there'd be a little bump on the wall.
Nunez misses down low to Adrian Gonzalez. He's walked 3 times. Has an RBI single that finished off the 5-run 5th.
So his on-base percentage when he came into the game was .417. And he's been on base all 3 times today.
Pulls the ground ball. Cantu backhands it and flips to Nunez. 1-2-3 go the Padres in the 9th, but the Marlins have to solve Heath Bell in the bottom of the 9th. 6-4 San Diego. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. In South Florida, 6-4. Padres on top in the bottom of the ninth. And the Marlins facing Heath Bell. They faced him last night. And Bell and the Padres would win the ball game, but the Marlins got a couple of hits against Bell. You can see his ERA is good. He's 5 of 6 in save opportunities, and that certainly qualifies.
Yeah, he got some good defense, a little help when he came into the game last night.
And so Bell is going to see John Baker to lead it off. The Marlins, as we told you, have a bunch of bats, regulars that have had the day off. Baker, Barden, pitcher spot due up. You've got Hanley available, Gabby Sanchez available, Cody Ross available, and of course Baker too. And here is Baker trying to get on base. Goes after the first pitch and fouls it back.
That's one thing about Heath Bell. He generally comes right after hitters, good hard fastballs and sliders.
Padres 4-1 winners last night, and Bell came in to pitch the ninth. Did give up a couple of hits. Baker takes outside, and it's a ball and a strike. Bell, of course, who served an apprenticeship under Trevor Hoffman. The Padres felt confident enough in Bell last year to turn it over to him, and he rewarded them with an all-star season. Saved 42 games, first in the National League, for a team that won 75. And last night, after the Marlins had a couple of hits and were down, Gabby Sanchez, the final out. Will Venable, a terrific catch.
Well, that was. He had him played perfectly, shading him a little bit toward the line, or he doesn't make that play, robbing Gabby Sanchez of extra bases and the Marlins of some runs.
2-2 on Baker. That's up. And it counts 3-2. Bell certainly fits the mold in terms of girth for a lot of closers that we see. He's a big guy. Three-two coming. Got him with the breaking ball.
That's a tough 3-2 pitch. When you have a 2-run lead, you might think you're going to see that fastball. He dropped in a nasty slider. And a good one.
Cody Ross is going to pinch hit now. And the Marlins have Hanley Ramirez on deck. So you take your shots, you're down a couple, and you're down to your last 2 outs. Out with the flu last night. Showed up at the ballpark feeling a little bit better today. Ross's bat came to life in Colorado.
And I think even last night he was available to pinch hit if needed.
Oh, 0-1. And Ross tried to get one of those runs back with one swing.
Cody has seen Bell 3 times, 1 hit, it was a home run.
Hangs in at 0-2. A 4-0 lead that went up in smoke in the 5th. Ross up the middle into center field, a base hit, and the Marlins have life in the 9th.
Yeah, that's what you try to do in a game like this. You try to get the tying run to the plate, and they have done that. Here it comes, and Hanley Ramirez is going to pinch hit for Nunez. Hanley 3 for 6 in his career against Heath Bell.
Bell has appeared in all 3 games of this series. And Hanley took a big swing and fouls it off. Hanley, to start this series against the hard-throwing right-hander, Matalatos, went opposite field and set the tone for a big night for the Marlins on Monday night. A 10-1 win. Bell has not allowed a home run this year. Little roller. Bell off the mound, picks it up and throws him out. You thought for a moment there that maybe Hanley would have a shot. But Bell got off the mound. He made a clean throw. And up comes Maven. So it's Maven and Coughlin if Maven can get aboard.
Yeah, time call. The ball had somehow gotten its way in front of the dugout.
1 for 4 is Maven. Bell with that fastball just overpowered Maven. And it's now 1-2.
Yeah, I think you can see as you watch him work, and no trickery involved. Hard stuff, fastballs and sliders.
He allowed just 3 home runs all of last year. Oh, man. That's a tough way to end the game. On a breaking ball that Brian Onora rings up Cameron Maven. Heath Bell saves it. And the Padres come in and take 2 of 3 On Fox tracks, nah, not even close. But it was a big strike zone throughout the day. Still a tough way to end it for the Fish. Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by AT&T. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. By Maroney. Hey, South Florida, when you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MARONEY. By FP&L. To learn smart ways to conserve energy, log on to FPNL.com and take a free online home energy survey. Padres come in, take 203. Marlins Live is next.